There's something about rejection that hits deep, especially when it comes from someone you genuinely wanted. When a woman rejects you, it can leave you confused, broken, and questioning your worth. You replay every moment, every word, trying to understand what went wrong. You think about what you could have done differently, what you could have said, how you could have made her see you in a different light. But then, just when you're finally starting to move on, she reappears. Maybe it's a text, maybe it's a like on your old photo, maybe it's a random message that says, "Hey, how have you been?" Suddenly, you're back to that place again, wondering why she came back after rejecting you. And that's exactly what we're talking about today, why women come back after they've already walked away. See, when a woman rejects you, it doesn't always mean she never had feelings for you. Sometimes rejection is her way of protecting herself. Women are emotional beings, and often they overthink. They weigh the risks, the timing, the emotional costs. She might have liked you, but maybe she wasn't ready for what being with you required. Maybe she was in a space where she couldn't open up. Maybe she had doubts about herself, about love, about whether she could trust again. So when she walked away, it wasn't because you weren't good enough. It was because something inside her wasn't ready to receive what you were offering. Time has a funny way of revealing truths. When she steps away and the noise settles, when the distractions fade, she starts to remember how you made her feel. The little moments, the way you listened when no one else did. The way you stayed calm when she tested your patience. The way you made her laugh when she was trying to act like she didn't care. Those things don't disappear. They linger. They echo. They make her wonder if she made a mistake. That's when curiosity starts to pull her back. Not necessarily because she's ready to commit, but because she wants to know if the door is still open. Another reason women come back after rejecting you is simple: validation. Rejection doesn't just affect men. It affects women too, in a different way. When a woman rejects you, she expects you to chase her, to prove her right, to show her that you really meant what you said. But if you don't, if you let her go quietly, if you start glowing without her, it stirs something in her. She starts to question herself. Was he really that into me? Did he move on that easily? Maybe I shouldn't have said no. That's when the pride begins to crumble. And when pride cracks, curiosity follows. So she reaches out, not always because she wants you, but because she wants to know if she still has power over you. Then there's nostalgia, that dangerous thing that makes people miss the past more than they should. When a woman remembers the version of herself that felt special around you, she misses that feeling. Maybe life didn't go the way she planned after rejecting you. Maybe the person she chose instead of you didn't give her what you did. Maybe she realized that the peace she had with you was rare. So she comes back, not necessarily for you, but for the comfort you represent. You were a safe place. You made her feel seen. And that's something people always circle back to, the feeling of being understood. But here's what most men don't realize sometimes: her coming back has nothing to do with love. Sometimes it's about convenience. Maybe she's lonely. Maybe she's bored. Maybe she's going through something and knows you'll listen. She remembers how caring you were, how easily you drop everything for her. And so when she needs emotional attention, she gravitates back to the source that once gave it freely, you. It's not fair, but it's real. Some women come back because they know you still care. And as long as you do, they can get that comfort without giving you what you truly deserve. Then there's the part where she actually grows. Time apart can teach people things that presence never could. Maybe she needed to lose you to realize your value. Maybe your absence made her face the truth that not every man will treat her the way you did. Sometimes she needed to date the wrong person to see how right you were. When she experiences that contrast, when she sees that your calmness was rare, your loyalty unmatched, your consistency genuine, she starts to see what she overlooked. And then she comes back, not out of weakness, but from awareness. Because now she knows the difference between attraction and alignment. There's also emotional timing. Relationships aren't just about feelings. They're about readiness. When she rejected you, maybe she wasn't emotionally available. Maybe she was still healing from a heartbreak. Maybe she wanted freedom. But people evolve. When life slows down, when she matures a little more, when she realizes what truly matters, she begins to value stability. And if you represented that, she's going to feel drawn back to you because time changed her, but your memory stayed constant. It's important to understand that women feel deeply even when they hide it. When she rejected you, she might have told herself she was making the right decision. But emotions don't follow logic. Even when she tried to convince herself she didn't care, something small, a smell, a song, a random place, could remind her of you. That emotional trigger reopens everything she tried to bury. That's when she starts missing you again, even if she doesn't want to. It's that internal war between the mind and the heart. And sometimes the heart wins, pulling her back toward what she once walked away from. However, when she does come back, it's not always for the same reason she left. Maybe now she wants to test if you've changed. Maybe she wants to see if you still hold the same space for her. Maybe she's coming back with the hope that things could be different this time. But sometimes it's not that deep. Sometimes she's just curious. She wants to see if you still react the same way, if your eyes still light up when she appears, if your energy still bends around her, and your response in that moment says everything. Now, let's be honest, rejection changes men too. When she rejected you, something in you shifted. You started valuing yourself more. You started learning what you deserve. You started understanding that your worth doesn't depend on who chooses you. So when she comes back, she's not just meeting the same version of you she once rejected. She's meeting a man who has healed, who has leveled up, who no longer needs her validation to feel complete. And that's what truly pulls her back even harder, because nothing attracts like indifference. Nothing captures attention like confidence. Nothing stings more than realizing someone you once rejected is now out of reach. Sometimes her return is karma reminding her of what she lost. Life has a way of humbling people. The same person who once said, "You're not my type," may later find that the type she chose was never right. The same woman who said, "I just want to be friends," may realize that friendship doesn't give her the emotional depth she craves. When she sees you thriving, happy, glowing, loving yourself without needing her, she remembers that she once had access to that light. And that's when regret creeps in, not always because she loves you now, but because she remembers how much she was loved, and she knows she might not find that again. But here's what you need to remember. Her coming back is not always your win. Sometimes it's your test. A test to see if you've really grown, if you've really healed, if you've learned to love yourself enough to not go back to what once broke you. You don't need to chase closure when you've already built peace. Her return is just life asking you one question. Will you choose progress or repetition? So yes, women do come back after rejecting you. They come back for closure, for curiosity, for comfort, for connection, for validation, for growth, or sometimes simply because they finally realized what they lost. But what truly matters is what you do when they do. Because sometimes the power isn't in being wanted again, it's in realizing you don't need to be. The truth is, people always return to good energy. They come back to love that was pure, to kindness that was genuine, to peace that was rare. But not everyone who returns deserves a second entrance. When she comes back, stay calm. Don't rush. Don't fall into old emotions. Look at her through the lens of who you've become, not who you were. Ask yourself, is she coming back because she values me now, or because she misses the attention I gave her? Is she returning because she's ready or because she's lonely? When you can answer that truthfully, you'll know exactly what to do. Maybe she'll come back with apologies, with explanations, with promises that things will be different. Maybe she'll come back pretending nothing happened. But you owe it to yourself to not fall for words without consistency. You've grown through the pain of rejection. You've built yourself from what she left behind. Don't let her walk back in and undo your peace. Remember, the person who once saw your worth and still walked away doesn't get to question your worth when you've already learned to see it yourself. At the end of the day, her coming back is not your validation. It's her realization. It's her seeing the strength, peace, and glow that you created in her absence. It's her realizing that not every man would have handled rejection with grace. It's her understanding that you weren't just another option. You were the lesson she had to lose to learn. And whether you take her back or not, just know this, the real victory is not in her return. The real victory is in your ability to smile, stay kind, and move forward knowing you didn't lose anything by being real. Because when love is genuine, it never has to beg to be chosen twice. When a woman comes back after rejecting you, the most confusing part is how naturally she tries to slip back into your life, as if the pain of her absence never existed. One day, she was distant, guarded, and firm in her decision. The next, she appears again, softer, more open, asking about your life, complimenting your growth. You start wondering what changed. But what truly changed wasn't you. It was her perception of you. When you finally stopped trying, when you redirected your energy into yourself, something in the dynamic shifted. You no longer existed as the man waiting to be chosen. You became the man who chose himself. And that transformation silently echoes into the universe. It's powerful. It pulls her back because it's rare to see a man become whole without resentment. Women are deeply intuitive. They sense energy more than words. She can feel when you've moved on, when you're no longer emotionally available, when your attention isn't orbiting around her anymore. Ironically, that's the exact moment she feels drawn toward you again. There's something magnetic about detachment. It speaks of strength. It tells her that you've evolved past her influence, that you've reached a level where her presence is no longer your priority. That energy makes her curious, even a little uneasy. Because now you're not reacting the way she expects. You're calm, composed, emotionally grounded. And that calmness challenges her ego. Sometimes it's not even about you as a person. It's about the emotional experience she had with you. You represented something. Maybe you were her peace, her escape, her mirror, her lesson. When she rejected you, she thought she was choosing freedom. But what she later realizes is that freedom without emotional fulfillment feels empty. She starts missing the depth she felt around you, the way you made conversations flow effortlessly, the way you noticed details about her no one else did, the way your presence made her feel safe enough to be herself. Those moments begin to replay in her mind when she's alone. That's when the guilt creeps in. She begins to wish she hadn't pushed you away so quickly. Women come back because they want to feel what they once felt, even if they're not ready to give what it takes to sustain it. The human heart is wired for emotional comfort. Once she's tasted your stability, your softness, your understanding, every other interaction gets measured against that memory. And when new people fail to match that energy, she starts to appreciate the emotional space you created for her. It's almost ironic. She might have rejected you for being too serious, too patient, too caring, and later she finds herself craving those exact qualities again. Because the very traits she once took for granted are now the ones she can't seem to find in anyone else. There's also the timing factor. A woman's priorities change with her experiences. When she rejected you, maybe she was looking for excitement. Maybe she wanted someone mysterious, unpredictable, or emotionally unavailable. Something that looked thrilling from a distance. But after she experiences that chaos, she begins to crave what she once ran away from: peace. Maturity changes desires. Emotional exhaustion humbles expectations. She starts realizing that peace isn't boring, that stability isn't weakness, that a man who's emotionally consistent is a rare treasure. When life teaches her that, her mind naturally drifts back to the one who offered it all along, you. Sometimes her return is her silent apology. She might never say the words, but her presence says it all.